And, I want to start this week talking about how this episode is, I would say a feminist episode. This is, I think, 8-year-old me, this is my introduction to feminism. This is the first time I was like, you know what? Women can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I can prove to the boys on the playground that I'm better than them.
Yeah. Love to see it, honestly.
We love to see it. We love to see it. And so we start this episode off. We're on the koi fish. Aang's riding the koi fish. And then the gang gets caught by this group of green women.
One thing I want to mention before we get to the Warriors of Kyoshi, I love the moment because like Aang's like, you guys got to watch me ride the koi fish. Like this is the whole thing. And as soon as he notices that Katara is not watching, he's so sad. He's like, there's no point in this anymore.
He's
like,
so sad. And I do love that we do see that so early on. Like even in the first episode, Aang looks at Katara and she's like, why are you smiling at me? Like he's already obsessed with her. In this episode, we really, really see that he really likes her. And all he wants to do is impress her and show off to her, but she could care less. She's busy.
Yeah. Which is
she has better things to do. And then so our gang ends up tied up on Kyoshi Island, and we are introduced then to all the women of the island. And we never get the name of the guy, the chief.
Which is also super interesting that he is there in general.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's never really elaborated on, I don't think.
Never really addressed. I just realized that.
Yeah. Which is also an interesting point that like the whole thing is that it's like the women-led island, but seemingly still the biggest elder there is a man, which is interesting.
A man. Very interesting. They tried though.
But yeah, it's his name, I believe, Oyaji, I think.
Oyaji?
Probably mispronouncing that.
It's probably said like later in a book, or they mention that that's his name, but I don't think they ever say it in the episode.
It's probably just in the credits.
It's probably just in the credits, yeah. So they get tied up. Sokka says his first like little sexist bit, and he's like, "Where are the men that ambushed us?" And they're like, "There was no men, it was us." And he's like, "No way, a bunch of girls like ambushed us." And Katara's like, "Sorry for my idiot brother." Cute, fair. I would say the same thing.
Yeah.
And then Aang admits that he's the Avatar. They don't believe him. He shows his airbending move. Cut to foaming mouth guy. Icon.
Yeah, iconic. We love to see him just absolutely losing it. I also would probably lose it like that if I saw some dude just like leap like 30 feet in the air.
30 feet in the air. I'd be like, oh my God. Start foaming at the mouth.
Yeah.
Didn't somebody say somebody said a conspiracy theory, or that it was discussed that Suki dated that guy, the foaming mouth guy.
Wild. I don't think I've ever seen that. That's interesting.
I think I saw it in like an IMBD trivia. I'm
good for foaming.
Somebody fact check me on that, but I think that's hilarious and an odd tidbit.
Yeah. What interesting backstory.
Again, our favorite thing, we could talk about the transitions in this show. The way they transition back to Zuko finding out this information that Avatar is on Kyoshi Island is that this little girl who's on the island tells a fisherman, and the fisherman tells the guy who buys the fish, and then the guy who buys the fish tells the guy who he sells the fish to, and the guy he sells the fish to is cooking the fish for Zuko.
Yeah.
Which is so sick.
It's so
genius.
Smart. And the little chain of events is so great.
Yeah. Like it really shows you that. And then so Zuko wants to come to Kyoshi Island. He tells Iroh to ready the rhinos, which we haven't seen any rhinos yet. So very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting animal. And we're back to Kyoshi. And Aang has kind of made the village excited. They're fixing up the statue. They get a really fun dinner. They're being treated the royal life. And this is where we kind of start to see a big theme in this episode, which is Katara and Aang being kind of jealous of each other.
Yeah.
Like clashing heads a little bit. Katara's like, oh, yeah.
It's good. It's a good example of like, one of my main notes was that we get a lot of growth in their relationship in this episode through the conflict. Like it's one of those things where they like start to realize how much, not that they didn't know that they cared about each other, but they start to realize like what their feelings exactly are whenever they start like bristling against each other because of these other external things that are happening, which is it's really smart.
And in episode 4. which
Oh yeah.
in a lot of shows these days that won't happen till like season 2.
Right. Yeah. They're like, okay, like we're getting into it and really like establishing it. It's again just like the show knowing exactly who the characters are and where they need to be at each,
Mhm.
like when they need to be there as far as like their character journeys,
Yeah, like
which
in
is
this
so good.
moment, Aang says, or Katara is like, "Oh, you like I just don't want all of this to go to your head." And Aang says, "I'm just a simple monk." And then he leans out the window to all the fangirls screaming for him, and he blushes,
Yeah.
which
Which is
is
so
so
funny.
great. And then we cut to a montage, Hard Day's Night style, of him being chased by all of these fangirls in all these different ways. We get to the man painting them, which we will talk about later in a later segment.
Mm-hmm. Again,
And then
great visual gags.
great visual gags, Aang impressing them with the push-ups. And I love the little air push-ups that he does. The
Yeah.
ones, that's hilarious. I like that little tidbit. Great way to use it. And then Sokka then finds the Kyoshi warriors. And then this leans into my feminism aspect. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he goes, "Oh, sorry to interrupt your dance lesson, ladies. I just need somewhere to work out." Which they do it in such a realistic way. Like growing up, this is how boys that age talked about
He's
women.
so
Like
obnoxious. He's so
it's so
obnoxious.
obnoxious. And I love the way that they handle it because they're like, "Oh, like you must be such a big, strong man if you're a warrior. Show us some moves." And they like put him on
He's
the
like,
spot.
oh God, I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
They're so smart for that. They're not just like and that's what I love about the show. They're not just like, "Oh no, like just because we're girls doesn't mean we can't fight." Like they don't say it. Like they show it.
Mm-hmm.
They put him down. They're like, "No, we're gonna show you. Like we're gonna put you on the spot. We're gonna embarrass you, and we're gonna
Like hopefully teach you a lesson that you'll learn.
hopefully
Like,
teach you a lesson."
yeah.
Yeah. Now we cut back to Aang with the fangirls. They look to Kyoshi. Oh, and then this is when that little girl Coco calls him Angie.
Which is so funny. And Katara's like, Angie?
And yeah, Katara's like, "Are you for real?"
It's like this.
She
guy,
rolls her
I
eyes because
cannot
she's
believe
like,
this.
"Yes, I can't believe this." She's getting supplies for their journey ahead. That's what she's thinking about. And Aang is getting so in his head about this, but won't admit it.
Yeah. She's like looking ahead and he's like, no, we could chill here for a while. This is great. Which, like, yeah, I'm sure that you do think this is great,
I'm
man.
sure you
Like,
do love that. Wouldn't you love that?
mm-hmm.
And then Aang says Katara is jealous, which causes her to storm away.
Mm-hmm.
And now back to Sokka with the warriors. And he actually, happens pretty fast. Like talking about it now, like they cut back and forth to these scenes so fast.
Yeah.
Within Kyoshi Island, so much of this happens so fast. And after Sokka gets taken down, he then immediately goes back and apologizes. And I love that they show that. That is such a great way to show kids that even if you have the wrong idea, it doesn't mean like you're ruined and you're finished. Like you can still apologize and learn from this and grow and learn that you're wrong. And if people are wrong, you don't have to shun them or put them out. Like you can teach them, they can be taught and they can learn new ways. I love the way.
Important thing that like they don't. It's not that the Kyoshi warriors and Suki like go out of their way to try to teach him. They put him in his place, but then they don't he's the one who has to come to them to like try to learn and grow. Like he has to be willing to take the first step there. And then they're like, okay, like if you're gonna be open to that, then we'll help you and teach you and like hopefully you can, continue to get the right lessons for this. But it's not like showing that it's putting that first step on in front of him. Like he has to try to take that to be better, which is really important.
And I know the creators of the show talked about how it was a big discussion showing this and having Sokka be so directly sexist. And like they even say that in the show that he is sexist. Katara says it straight out. And they talked about not wanting to handle it lightly and will children know? Will kids know? Like, will they really be watched? Because a lot of kids when it's on TV, they watch it out of order. They're not watching it all the way through chronologically. If they just see these tidbits, are they like, oh, haha, I see Sokka act that way, so I can act that way? Will they see the whole episode and see him learn that lesson?
Yeah.
And they said that they had a really good discussion with a lot of people. And they didn't take it lightly. They wanted to handle this really well.
Yeah, with like the importance that it deserves.
And I think they did that. I think they did do it very well. Because you can't, we said this before, we were talking I think on a previous episode, you can't show what's good if you can't show it's bad.
Yeah, like you can't show that the bad thing is bad without showing the bad
The
thing.
bad thing.
Yeah, you can't just like say you can't just have the back part of the lesson, the like good part. Like you
Yeah.
have to have done the wrong thing in order to get to the right thing,
To learn the
which is
right
important.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important. I think a lot of people get mad about that, but like
Mhm.
nowhere do they say this is good.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever. Like the live action show kind of does that, but
We'll get into it.
we'll get into that.
Yeah.
So Sokka apologizes for his mistakes and he asks to be trained. And then we cut to Katara practicing a little waterbender, and Aang and her get another little tizzy. They fight a little bit and argue. And now we're back to Sokka again. We keep cutting back and forth to this, which I love. It really keeps the show's pace like moving, and this episode's pace. And I think I said before, like this really sets the tone for the rest of the episodes and how fast they move. But
it also does a good job of like getting the gang split up a little bit as far as like getting their growth. Obviously, Aang and Katara still spend most of the episode like in each other's like vicinity, you know, and like interacting, but it's still like having them grow as individuals still, like outside of just the like group setting is really cool.
It's very, yeah, this is like the first time we see them split up from each other, really.
Yeah.
Which is very cool. So then we cut back to Sokka practicing with the warriors. And I love that as Suki is training him, she says, it's not about strength, it's about waiting for an opening. And then he immediately takes her down and he learns this lesson. And he does this little face I love where he goes, like it's a very girly face where he's like, what?
Yeah.
And he embraces the makeup, he embraces the dress, even though Aang makes fun of him. Yes.
I love that here he does have to wear the full regalia, the full Kyoshi outfit and makeup and stuff. It's a very important thing because they're like, no, this is part of it. Like, if you want to do this, you have to do this. And he's like, okay, like I'll do it. Like, that's cool. I like that they did that. It's a big part of the character
like,
growth.
That's a cool, like a guy wearing a dress in 2000 and what, 6?
Yeah. Yeah.
And a kid's show?
It's good.
You got to be smart to pull that off.
Shout out Avatar.
Shout out Avatar for that. That's pretty early on. All right. So now we're back with Aang. He's in the water waiting for the Unagi. And then he realizes the fangirls start to get bored of him. Fame is fleeting.
Yeah.
And so they leave him, but Katara shows up to make sure he was safe. And before he's able to come out of the water, the Unagi shows up. And the Unagi grabs him. He gets flung all over the place and gets flung back into the water. And he's unconscious. And we get the first time we get to, not the first time, we get to see Katara save him once again with waterbending, with her new skills. She's getting stronger and stronger. She like pushes the water back.
Yeah, and she gets to pull the water like out of him.
Which is such a cool way to use waterbending to save his life.
Yeah.
That was
I loved the shot when the Unagi is like throwing him around, that we get a point of view shot from the Unagi's mouth, like looking out.
Yes.
Which is so just
like,
again creative and didn't need to do that, but it's a really cool shot and like super dynamic and creative. And the fact that they threw that in there for like, it's like 5 or 8 seconds or something. Like it's not long, but
yeah, but you're right. I didn't even think about that. You're right. Like
it's
that's
so interesting. Like it
creative.
just makes it so visually interesting, and like you feel it puts you there like even more, which is so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then the healing, which is nice.
Yeah. And then we pan over and we see Zuko has landed at Kyoshi Island. Uh-oh. See the ship approach. He exits with the rhinos that we were talking about. And this is when Katara does the waterbending thing to Aang to get the water out of his lungs.
They're Komodo rhinos, I believe. So they're supposed to be like Komodo dragons mixed with rhinos, which is terrifying.
Stick. That's crazy.
Like, that's insane. Komodo
Those things are so
enough.
Cool. Do we see them? Like, yeah, we see them again, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
The rough rhinos. Oh, we have the rough rhinos. Yeah. We see them again.
They're so sick.
So then we get the Kyoshi warriors are called to fight them, and the Kyoshi warriors, along with Sokka, start fighting the Fire Nation warriors. And we see how strong they are and how they're really able to take them all down, except Zuko. Zuko does start beating their ass.
Yeah, because I mean, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. And he does this really cool thing. He pulls this like kickboxing move, I guess, or like a like breakdancing move where he spins on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And I love somebody mentioned that he does a lot of breakdancing style moves.
Yeah.
And with firebending, which nobody else really does in the show.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only one who really does that. And I wonder if it's to emphasize his teenagerness.
Maybe.
Or the fact that
like,
Dante Bosco is a breakdancer.
I did not know that.
It was like his start, I think, in Hook. He used to do a lot of dancing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So then we have Aang show up to save the day, and he hits Zuko with the big fan. He uses the fans. Zuko picks Aang picks up the fans and owns Kyoshi.
Yeah, I love the fact that we get another Avatar using Kyoshi's fans. That's so perfect. Love to see it.
Chef's kiss. Another chef's kiss.
Yeah.
We love to see it. And we see how powerful he is too. He flings him back into that house, and the house like blows up.
Mm-hmm.
Which great. What's that meme where it's like we saved the city?
And it's all on fire.
On fire. Ruined.
The SpongeBob and Patrick, I believe.
It's SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're like, we did it. We saved the city. It's in ruins.
Yeah. It's essentially what happens here.
Hey, Aspect listener. Enjoying the show?
Then be sure to subscribe here on The Aspect so you never miss an episode.
And check out more episodes and clips on our playlist here.
Thanks so much for watching, and...
Lameo Hot Man.